the beginning it was, I don't believe in crying in front of your partner. But then it switched to, well, here's the time I did cry in front of my partner. And I'm sure that if we were to dig, there were some very positive things in your relationship dynamic. Yeah. And then I had to go pick his kids up from school that day and bring them over to my house. And that was like the hardest thing.
Yeah.
I have to pretend like this kid's dad isn't dead right now as a 4-year-old. It's not something that can be used against me because of all the other data you have on me. Everything about me is, I respect myself and you should too. Are you sad or are you angry right now? She's like, Dad, I'm so angry right now, but I'm crying. And he was like, why don't you get angry? She said, when I get angry,
you do a lot of work in the realm of being respected at home. Mm-hmm. And Brandon and I don't necessarily see eye to eye on the concept of, I do not believe in crying in front of my partner. I believe that it creates insecurities. I believe that if I'm saying, hey, don't worry, I can lead the ship, if I become overly emotional, then there's instability, there's insecurity. And she's, whoa, I'm supposed to be the one emotional. I'm supposed to be the one that's having a moody day. You're supposed to be the stoic. You're supposed to be the rock. You're steering the ship. And it's not that I don't have a relationship where she guides me back on course. And let's be real, she very much pulls strings from behind the scenes, right?
Yeah.
Without, and not in a gross way. There's not leverage and stuff like that,
Sure,
withholding emotion or anything like that. However, she has a massive voice in this relationship. And yet she also goes, look, I just want to exist. I want you to steer the ship. I want you, here's the money, and, you do the finances, you make the choices. And I love her. She's so indecisive, like a lot of women when it comes to dinner.
Sure.
Just, I better know
not to ask that question anymore.
Right. I better know where we're going, or it's not happening. Right. Yeah. However, I don't believe in being overly emotional in front of women. And the only time that she saw me cry in, the time that we've been together was that day when they put my dog down. Yeah. The moment that the doctor said she's gone, I broke and I'm laying on the dog. And, in hindsight, it's kind of funny, but my face is in her dog bed and I'm just weeping.
Oh, I've been there twice.
Right.
Yeah.
And I go to inhale and I sucked in a bunch of dirt and dog hair. Yeah. And I start coughing and I was like, all right.
Yeah, I get it.
I need to chill, And then for the next 4 days, I'd get choked up and I'd just gut it and just, okay.
Did she stop respecting you in those 4 days?
No.
What happened?
Again, and that's why I'm saying, don't be overly emotional. It used to be that absolutely not. I don't care. I won't cry.
Gotcha.
But now that situation has shifted me into being like, well, every once in a while, you're going to break down. I just refuse to remain in victim mode. I didn't go around for the next 4 days, like I said, going well, no, everybody has to be nice to me because I lost my best friend. Or anything along those lines.
We know those people too.
We do.
It's like the same one as, it's the opposite version of, this whole week is my birthday.
Right.
This whole month is my birthday.
Right.
It's my birthday month. Shut up.
Right.
I don't even want to know about your actual birthday.
Yeah.
Let alone the week or the month. But same thing with the victimhood things. This thing happened to me. It was 12 years ago, but you need to accommodate for that right now in your interaction with me.
Make room for my baggage because I'm coming in hot.
Especially for strangers, you need to assume that I have some of this baggage and tiptoe around it for my sake. But I think, again, you made a clarification. At the beginning it was, I don't believe in crying in front of your partner. But then it switched to, well, here's the time I did cry in front of my partner. And I'm sure that if we were to dig, there were some very positive things in your relationship dynamic when she was able to actually see that piece of you and have the conversations around seeing that piece of you, and that it didn't diminish respect in your relationship. Then it switched to overly emotional, which I don't think anybody would disagree with. Don't be overly emotional. Don't be, there are probably some fringe people for sure, but it's the 95-5 thing, right? 95 at least % of people would be like, yeah, don't be a blubbering mess all the time.
Right.
But I think what we're looking at is stability. Do the emotions that you exhibit in front of my partner, good and bad, let's say crying and anger, Do those show me as a stable person or an unstable person? And if I'm capable of holding a thread of being a stable person, I'm allowed to have a blip. I'm allowed to freak out every once in a while. I'm allowed to lose my shit over something. My wife just told me last night, she's like, I had about 30 hours of work that I was doing on something wiped out by the AI that I was using. And it just like didn't have a reason for it. It was like, oh, all of a sudden this is gone. I was like, well, here's the evidence that we did it. And it was like, yeah, no, I don't know where those came from. I was like, they had to have come from you. It was a whole thing. She's like, I don't know how you're not losing your shit right now. But she's also seen me in moments where I couldn't not lose my shit. Yeah. 2 of them were dogs dying. My first dog that I ever had, my husky, Kai, he was the 3rd dog that died. Again, we had all in 1 year. But the first dog, that was the one where I was the blubbering mess. Yeah. He was only 15 months old. He was an Italian Mastiff, Cane Corso. We found him at the bottom of our pool. And he'd only been outside for like 45 minutes. Yeah. And I lost it. I mean, I have to go fish this 140-pound dog out of my pool too. And then it's just, I've never experienced this before. I've never experienced that loss. And like, I loved him so much. And then we had to put my husky down. He had a cancerous mass and he was only 5.
That was what happened with my dog.
Dude, this is my homie. He used to fly everywhere with me. He used to drive everywhere with me. I didn't go into a restaurant without my dog. This dude, and it was while I was building my business, the hardest time of my life. I'm trying to figure this out. What the hell am I doing? How am I going to figure this? That dude was always there with me. I've had him since he was 6 weeks old. This is my guy. And he's all of a sudden, not only is he gone, like the first one was gone and he was gone by the time I got to him. Yeah. This one I have to make a decision that he's gone. And it does something to you. My wedding, I was a blubbering mess at my wedding, reading my vows to my wife. Yeah. But again, like at no point have I been emotional around my wife when it wasn't first warranted. It never has made me feel or be seen as unstable or make her feel unsafe, because that's really what the concern is. Right. Is that she's going to feel less safety in your masculine structure if I'm overly emotional now. But again, I think it's a reaction versus a response. If I'm responding to this thing with emotion, with an appropriate level of emotionality around this, I think you're getting the same result of, again, who would I be if I wasn't afraid of being disrespected? And sometimes that is, I'm going to be emotional right now because I'm not afraid of being taken advantage of. I can cry in front of people. I've cried on podcasts. I've cried in front of the guys I play poker with that don't really know my personal life before. I had a friend who passed in June of 24. It was my wife's best friend's husband. I've talked about this on podcasts before. Took his own life one morning, and I showed up 10 minutes after it happened to his wife sitting on the curb and seeing the scene. I saw my friend not alive anymore. Yeah. And actually, the rest of that day, it almost had the opposite effect where my wife was like, you're too calm about this. Right. And that was concerning. And then we actually got to have the conversation because I was like, I genuinely don't know how I feel. I was in what does she need mode as my friend's wife all day. Yeah. And then I had to go pick his kids up from school that day and bring them over to my house. And that was like the hardest thing. Yeah. I have to pretend like this kid's dad isn't dead right now as a 4-year-old. Sorry to drop this on you guys at the end of the podcast.
No, you're fine.
But she had the other side of it where like, if you're way too calm all the time, if you don't show any emotionality, I know guys specifically that teach the masculinity stoicism thing whose girlfriends and wives have reached out to me and been like, I'm a little nervous about how calm. I can see he's just trying to be calm all the time. When something crazy happens where you would obviously lose your shit about it, or you would obviously cry at this thing. My boyfriend's mother died, my whatever, like somebody super close to them, and he just moves on with his day. That's unsettling. Right. And so again, I think there are these fringes of people that neither one of these is helpful. What's the thing that still gets me what I'm looking for, which is the trust, love, respect, connectedness that I'm looking for. And there's a formula there. And I don't think it's the same for every single person. But again, what gets me love without losing respect? And I think that's kind of the balance we're trying to get. That most people are optimizing for one or the other. I'm looking to be the most respected I can possibly be, even at the cost of love or connection. Or I'm looking to be as loved and connected, or at least just accepted as I can possibly be, even at the cost of love or at the cost of respect, right? That's the guy who gets walked on, stepped on, and looked over for promotions, and girls don't want him. Why do they always go with the bad guy? Because you're a wet noodle over here that nobody can possibly respect because there's no masculine structure. Right. Versus there's way too much rigidity here and you aren't flexible in any way, shape, or form. And actually, it's a little concerning that you don't ever show any of your emotions. And so I think there is something in that middle. It's like, how do I get the equalized balance for me of love and respect from the people I'm looking for? How do I get enough of this without losing any of this?
Yeah.
let's say in 21 years, I can probably count on one hand the number of times that she's seen me cry, like legit. And a couple of those times would be like when my children were born, right? That's like that's all the emotion. That's its own thing we can talk about another time.
So bad.
The times that I'm genuinely ashamed of, or when I show that much emotion, but it's not from sadness from something that's happened or emotion that I just, it's so overwhelming. It's when I'm angry.
Yeah.
And I lose my temper. Those are the times that I'm ashamed of.
I'm out of control.
Yeah. I've raised my voice. I've lost my temper. I'm using bad words. This is not how I want to show up. However, I'm so angry in the moment. It's happening no matter what.
Yeah.
That's the time I'm ashamed of every time. And that happens way more than I'd like to admit. The overwhelming sadness when that does happen. I mean, I've definitely cried more times than she has seen.
Yeah.
But the fact remains that when she does see that, like, that is definitely, there's a different level. I'm not trying to hide that level of sadness from her. However, when it happens, if she's there, well, then she's there and she sees it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing what we know and your input and the context that we've created around it, do you guys still have a disagreement around it? Like, what is the disagreement if we've talked about this?
I think it's more that my energy on it is that I actively am like, nope, won't do it.
Yeah.
Refuse to.
Yeah.
I don't do it, but I might sometimes, versus I'm open to it.
Right.
If it were to happen.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't have any resistance to it. Like,
Yeah.
but if it happens, it happens. That's fine.
Yeah. I've had that, and what's funny, because I'm so open about it, again, because I have no fear of not being respected, because look at this through line of everything you've known about me and my content, to my friends, to my whatever. You've only known me as respectable, and I fully respect myself. So if you see me deviate, it's not going to do anything negative to me. And so I've cried in front of guys who've just met me for the first time. Again, I've been on podcasts with people where they've like, hey, I saw you post about your friend passing. And I like, something about it just sparked something in me. Right after my dog passed, I went on my friend's podcast and he asked me about it because he was there when I got our Italian Mastiff, and he was super close with him. And he was like, I got to take you there for a minute, because we sat in my car after it happened.
Yeah.
And I cried and from him sitting in my car. Again, it's just, I don't mind it at all ever, because it's not something that can be used against me because of all the other data you have on me. Everything about me is, I respect myself and you should too. And so when there is what you could call a deviation from that, and I show some emotionality, it's not at the cost of anything. It's not going against what you know about me. It's actually in addition to.
Well, and perhaps that concept that I'm creating, the story that I'm telling myself about at most cost, do not cry. Perhaps that's the opposite of how I actually feel, right?
Yeah, maybe.
That maybe I am an emotional man and I go, better gut this and hide it, because it's still that ego.
Or transmute it into anger, which is what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is the acceptable version, is to be angry instead of show that I'm sad.
Because I'm sure there are some anger times where, the same back to the question, who would you be if you weren't afraid of being disrespected?
Right.
Sometimes those angers were actually cries.
Yeah.
I just had a guy, I just watched him talk about this on a podcast, and I don't remember which one it was, but he said, he was talking about his daughter crying, and she was like just crying all the time about something. And he was like, something about it just made me know she wasn't sad. And so he said, like, are you sad or are you angry right now? She's like, Dad, I'm so angry right now, but I'm crying. And he was like, why don't you get angry? She said, when I get angry, everybody leaves. And when I cry, my sister comes and gives me a hug. And it was, to him, it was like, oh, that's what it is. And again, it's a woman. So like, it is a little bit of a different context, but I'm angry. Is that an angry because I'm angry, and angry because, again, I'm afraid of something, or I'm scared that I'm not going to be seen the way that I want to be seen? And so instead of the fear coming out, because I don't want to be seen as somebody who's afraid. What are you going to do to me if you think I'm afraid of you, right?
Right.
Instead of that, I'm just going to be angry. But it really was a different emotion that I was trying to express, but anger is what came out because that feels safest. Again, that's the bodyguard. Anger is oftentimes the bodyguard for what I don't actually want to feel, or what I don't feel safe feeling.
When I grew up in an extremely violent household.
Usually what it comes back to.
And it wasn't my dad. My dad was very much, he was an angry dude, but he wasn't violent.
Yeah.
To us. However, And if you watch my origin story, there's, some stuff, the one that I just posted.
Okay.
However, my mom married this guy who beat the hell out of her, beat the hell out of us. And I can use this story to justify whatever, this or that. Like, if so much so that I don't share, Brandon's never heard this. He's one of my closest friends. Like, I don't share this story because I don't want people to view me differently, right? I don't want people to go, oh, that explains why he behaves this way. Because, but aside from essaying me, all of the terrible things that you could think of, right? Brutal. And then because my mom stayed with him, even after he went to prison, we would have to then go to the prison and visit with this man, right?
There's a permission structure now.
Oh, dude.
He's allowed to be this.
It was
And the
so
person
gross.
who's supposed to protect me from it didn't protect me from it. So who needs to protect me now?
Right.
I need to protect me.
Right. And so, the formative years of that, I mean, I was probably 6 or 7 years old, maybe, right?
Yeah.
And, like I said, I don't share this story because, and I one time went to a counselor when I was going to college. I was attempting to sort some stuff out.
Worst thing I've ever done.
It's horrible. No, I'm kidding. But I go to this counselor at the college. I was attempting to sort some stuff out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
The guy goes, tell me your story. And I tell him my story. And he said one thing that made me feel really good. And he's like, wow, you're not a victim. You've survived so many things, which I appreciated, right? Because I just laid it all out.
Yeah.
I cried in front of this man. I was, and then this happened, And at the end of it, he goes, man, all these kids come in here and they just say the most boring shit. And like,
At least you're fun.
well, and that's how it
what he
felt,
did.
is that I was just like, oh, I'm your little dancing monkey. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Which
outta
probably
here.
isn't what he meant.
Right.
But that's how it
But I
was
take it this way.
received. Yeah.
Right. And I was just pissed because, I'm not here for your entertainment. I'm not your story that you get to tell your friends, you know? And so that really upset me. And I've, the one time that I was just like, all right, here's the bare all truth of everything. I became an oddity, and I'd probably have some big programs on that.
Yeah. I got
right?
slapped for it, right? There was a pain associated with opening up. So why would I do that again?
Yeah. However, there was very much a scared young child that had to protect himself.
Yep.
And so, and so the viewers know at home, I am 5'4", dude. I am not a tall man.
Yeah.
And growing up, everybody wants to prove that they're a tough guy. They're scanning the room and they see 6'5", 6'6", little 5'4", And so I felt the need to become the hardest man in the room.
Yes.
I trained in boxing. I trained in mixed martial arts. I trained in wrestling. Like, I did all these things. I had a ton of street fights. Like,
Bodyguard.
Right. All these stories that I had to tell myself. I have to be the hardest person in the room. I've had the absolute dog crap beat out of me by a man that's about your size.
Yeah.
And I had to get up after being knocked out and go tell him he hits like a, know, and then he knocks me out again and I have to go back and do it again. I got knocked out 3 times by this man.
Yeah.
Right. But I had to prove that I was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like I said, man, I'm 41 years old. I don't want to live in that space anymore.
Yeah.
And I haven't for years wanted to live in that space. And, you were saying that the ego can be a great passenger. And I agree with you. I'm sure you've probably heard people talking about peptides. It piqued your interest. You looked into it, but you don't know what source to trust. A lot of this stuff is coming out of China. If you're looking for a good quality peptide that's made in the United States, go to helixpure.com.